Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. We are delighted to have you along with us on what we think is going to be an adventure. And I must confess, I've not done this one before. So we're going to try it out together and run this experiment. Now, when we have family dinners, we generally like to serve some kind of a punch. And usually I just use the powdered Crystal Light in the various flavors of lemonade. And I ran across this recipe from the Ball Canning Company it is strawberry lemonade concentrate. And my gosh, I thought, oh, I could do the same thing with raspberries. And so today we are going to make raspberry lemonade concentrate, which means that it will be a syrup that we can then dilute down. And the thing about the recipe was, and I'll be putting the link to the recipe right below the description of this video, but in the recipe it doesn't say what the concentration ratios are, how much syrup to how much water. So we'll be doing a little experimentation, and I'm sure that any of us can do it just to our taste, but we'll try to figure that part out. This is very, very easy. And also, it is part of our level 1 food storage efforts. And so we could even make this in difficult times with the integration of our refrigerator, our freezer, and our pantry. It has only 3 ingredients: 6 cups of raspberries. So here is 6 cups of sugar and a quart, 4 cups of bottled lemon juice. And I just used this real lemon. It didn't come in any sizes larger than this, so it took 2 bottles and then plus a little bit out of this bottle that's going back in the refrigerator. So here's what we're going to do, and it should go very fast. Now, I use some of our frozen raspberries that we have as part of our level 1 food storage in the freezer. And so I thawed 6 cups of raspberries. That recipe calls for 6 cups of strawberries. I just used 6 cups of raspberries. Now, what we're going to do to ensure that everything is going to be okay is that once we get our syrup mixture all done, I'm going to measure the acidity to be sure that it falls below 4.6 and can be water bath canned. Now, the recipe calls for water bath canning. Anytime a recipe calls for water bath canning, you can also do steam canning, and that's what we're going to do right over here. I have the water warming up because I don't think this is going to take us very long. So the first thing that we're going to do is to puree these raspberries. So I'm just going to put them right in my blender. I wish there was an easier way to get these out of this baking sheet that I thawed the raspberries on. They're already quite mushy. So I'm going to go with that many. Okay, so we want this to be as pureed as possible. I chose my blender. It says to use the blender or a food processor. I chose the blender because of its fastness and its blade, and hopefully we'll be able to get even the seeds. So I'm going to be brave and try this. I don't know. All right, this goes in. And I'm going to put just a little bit of our lemon juice in here and blend it up really well to catch the last of the raspberry residue. And now we're adding the rest of the lemon juice and all 6 cups of sugar. I was a little bit horrified about the amount of sugar, but then realized, oh, we're making concentrate, so it will be quite diluted. All right, it looks to me like there are still little bits of raspberry in here. No, they'll pull apart. It's just globs of the puree. I want to be able to get the sugar dissolved so that I'm not feeling any sugar on the bottom of this pan when I stir. We're just about there. This recipe is supposed to make 7 pints, but as I look on the scale on the side of my pan, it looks to me like it might be only about 5 pints. When we measure 6 cups of raspberries, I wish they would have given a weight rather than a volume measurement, because we could have been more accurate. But it's all about the taste, so we'll see how it tastes. And then the next step here is to bring it up to, not to a boil, but to just below a boil at 190 degrees. Our boiling point here is 205, so I'm going to have to watch it carefully because of our elevation. We're not at sea level where it would be 212, but we'll bring this up to 190, and then we will take it off the heat and pour it up and get ready to put the jars in the canner. So I'm going to be stirring this periodically to make sure it's not going to be burning on the bottom. And I have my instant read thermometer ready right here so that we can monitor the temperature of it. And we have a long way to go. It is 71 degrees in there right now. So we will be back when it's up to temperature and ready to put into the jars. We are very close. There it is, 191. Okay, off, and then we'll move this off to the side. It says to skim off the foam. I don't think this foam is skimmable, so we're going to just deal with it. I am now going to take a piece of litmus paper, and let's look at our scale right here. If we are safe, it should be lower than 4.6. So here's 4 and here's 5. So it should be somewhere here or below. So here we go. Get the foam off. And
it's almost like a 1.
Looks like we've got a 2, between a 2 and a 3. So we are fantastic. So this is safe to water bath can without a doubt. So let's get to it. So we're going to fill these jars to up to 1/4 of an inch of headspace. So it's a lovely red color. I wondered if it was going to be clear, but with all those raspberries in there, of course it isn't. And I do see some little seeds, but that will be fine. Okay, so we have up to about 1/4 of an inch. Very hot. So we got 6 pints. I am not going to can this one. I'm going to instead put it in the refrigerator and keep it. Thanksgiving is just a few days away. I'll be using it, and I want to test it right now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, because these are, this is a liquid, we do not need to check for air bubbles. There would not be any air bubbles when we poured that liquid in. So I'm just wiping the rims, and this is just a paper towel dampened in water. We do not need to dampen it in vinegar because there is no meat or oil fat involved here, so there's no grease that needs to be diluted with the, needs to be taken care of with the vinegar. Now these are going to have a little seeds in them. Raspberries or strawberries would be the same. We could strain it before we put it in. If this is a big success, I might do that next time. just finger tight. All right, so here are our 5. It's boiling at the bottom. I'm going to now put the lid on, and we're going to wait now. Even though it was steaming before, we have to wait until it's now putting out a lot of steam. We can do water bath canning and steam canning interchangeably, and that is because the temperature of the steam is the same as the temperature of boiling water. If any of you have ever had a steam burn like I have, we know how hot steam gets. And so once steam fills that pot and surrounds those jars, it's the same thing as if it were being submerged in boiling water. And so as soon as we get a good head of steam coming out from underneath the lid, and we know that it's there's steam everywhere. Now, this one has a little dial that you can read. I find it ridiculous, frankly, because if you just understand that when steam is being exhausted out the pan, you've got a good head of steam on the inside of the pan as well. The recipe calls for this to be processed for 15 minutes. That would be at sea level. Because we are at 5,000 feet, we have to add 10 minutes. So if you don't know how much to add if you are above sea level, it's usually within 1,000 feet of sea level. You're okay to do the 15 minutes. But with every 1,000 feet above that, you need to increase your time. For 5,000 feet, we have to add 10 minutes to water bath canning. And you can find a chart that tells you exactly how much time to add depending on your elevation. You need to know what your elevation is. And those charts can be found in the front of any good canning book, any ball book, any USDA publication for canning. They all give that chart. You can even Google a canning chart for water bath canning by elevation, and you can find those charts as well. So we're going to be processing here for 25 minutes. Once we get, we've got now some pretty good steam coming out there. So I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes, give it more time to build up a little bit more steam. Then we will process this for 25 minutes and we will be back. All right, here's the last one from the canner. So we got a total of 6 pints. And it looks like the raspberry solids have moved to the top and the syrupy stuff is on the bottom. Now, we added 6 cups of sugar, and I said at the beginning that that seemed like a huge amount, and well, it was. So what that means is we have about 1 cup, and here's our 6th one right here. As you can see, I've been experimenting, and here are the results of some of our experiments. We'll get to that in just a moment. And so what that means is there's about 1 cup of sugar per. Now, what I did in the dilutions, we experimented while the others were processing, and I used a little 1/4 cup measurement, and I measured 1/4 of a cup, and then in this one, I added so 1 part of the syrup was 1/4 of a cup, and I added 4 parts of water. And in this one, I did 1/4 of a cup to 3/4 of a cup. So this was 1/4 to a full cup of water. This was 1/4 to 3/4. Now, most of the time when you get orange juice, frozen orange juice in a can, you dilute that 3 to 1. So this is 4 water to 1 syrup. This is 3 water to 1 syrup. Now I want you to come up and take a look at this little strainer. I got smart after I did the first dilution and found that there were seeds all through it, and the seeds were a little bit annoying. So when I put the 1/4 cup of syrup into the second dilution, I strained it in this little strainer, and sure enough, it caught a lot of seed. So that's what I'm going to do when I use this, is I'm going to run the syrup through a strainer. And what helped was that after I poured the syrup in, then I also poured the first little bit of the water also through the strainer to rinse everything off and get everything through the strainer that could go. So this is the 1 syrup to 4 parts water. I really loved the 4-to-1, but Jim thought that it was too watery. And I think I really like it that way. Now I have it in these little bottles that I love so much. Silicate glass, what is it called? Borosilicate glass. So that I can stir it up a little bit. Now Jim's 3-to-1, he said, well, it tastes more sugary. And it's also very yummy. And it does taste a little more strong, a little more sugary. But if we're going to be serving it over ice, this is probably the dilution that I would recommend, is the 3-to-1. Which means that 1 of these pints will make 2 quarts of punch. And that's just about the right amount for our family gatherings sometimes. I might have to dip into a second one because some people just like plain water, but I think 2 quarts is what I usually make. Which means, and I did the math on this, that and both of these are now a cup of the completed lemonade over ice. And there is a teaspoon and a half of sugar, which still is a little bit sweet. But a lot of people take that much sugar in other hot drinks that they have too, so I didn't think that it was too bad. Anyway, I'm thrilled with this. The taste is lovely. It's tangy. I worried a little bit about the bottled lemon juice because I like a fresh lemon taste, but it's wonderful. It really is nice and tangy, and I can taste the raspberry in there. So this will be a wonderful addition to our food storage shelves. So I hope that you try this, and I think that it would work also with blackberry. Can you imagine a blackberry punch? And we have the frozen blackberries out there. I just might try that sometime. So thanks so much for being with us, and we will see you again very soon for more videos.